Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome again to another edition of the EKN Debrief. This is episode 71 here on the EKN Radio Network. It's Wednesday, October the 21st, 2020. And of course, the event in question, David Cole just getting back from the finale of the United States Pro Kart Series, the Carolina Grand Prix at GoPro Motorplex in Mooresville, North Carolina. It was a tremendous weekend. David's going to kind of go through everything throughout this podcast and talk about the drivers who were able to work their way to the championships, whatever it may be. Bottom line is record numbers. We'll talk more about that as well at the USPKS to cap things off. Just a lot of momentum to finish off the 2020 season. This week's show presented by MG Tires. No matter your compound preference, MG Tires USA has you covered. MG Tires are the official spec tire for the United States Pro Kart Series, Route 66 Sprint Series, Sunshine State Karting Challenge, and countless clubs across the country. Whether it's the medium SH Red, the soft SM Yellow, the super soft Green SS, or the intermediate White IZ, MG Tires USA has your winning set of rubber in stock. MG Tires for the drivers. So again, folks, welcome to episode 71 of the EKN Debrief. My name is Rob Howden, joined as always by David Cole and DC, coming back from the United States Pro Kart Series and in chatting with you since we did this. Since you got back, it's Wednesday right now. Chatting with you yesterday, man. Sounds like a lot of excitement and just a lot of happy people down there at that event at GoPro.
A record-breaking event. Really is what kind of the highlight of the actual event itself, boosting the highest entry total ever in the 8-year history. So really, that was kind of the emphasis going in. Obviously, it being the final round and championships on the line, but that was really the high point going in and leaving the event, filling up that GoPro Motorplex paddock in Mooresville, North Carolina. There,
I bet.
They're definitely going to have to, if they want to host any larger events, they're going to have to look at the way pits are laid out and the extension of, behind their shop there, and lots of different ways to kind of make sure that everybody can fit in there, because it was a record-breaking weekend.
Yeah, 223 total entries, breaking the past record of 218. That's almost getting to critical mass, right, David? We haven't seen that many races. Really, I think SCUSA Pro Tour at one point, a little bit over 250. I know you have the numbers there somewhere, but really that 225 to 250 marks, really what we've seen as the top numbers in a national program, although still with 7 categories on the docket. You can go through the numbers in a second, but 5 of the categories over 30, 1 over 40, and the other 2 were 20 and up. So there's still room for growth that could put them up to the 250 mark next year.
And that's just it. There's plenty of room for growth within the categories they already have without having to add another category to grow as a series. So that's the positive outlook at it. So, but you're right. Newcastle's a facility that can host events like that. We know Phoenix, that's a little bit far away from the
a little far
from the base of the United States Pro Kart Series. But we're talking facilities like that. I believe Homestead has the ability. I have never been there, so I'm not quite sure.
Well, you can just keep going back in Homestead. There's tons of room at Homestead.
So Ocala is getting to that point. Where it's I believe during the winter tour days and the early days of that, there were some major events there. So obviously facilities that have big paddocks, Road America is another one as well too, where there's a large enough paddock to accommodate the numbers that we have for the United States Pro Kart Series.
Let's have a look, David. Obviously one of the key programs talking about GoPro, it was rounds 5 and 6 of the 6-round championship. And I think one of the key things, and I like it, is all 6 rounds counted to the championship this year.
Yeah, that's what they did when the program went from 4 events to 3 events in 2018. They decided to count all 6 days, all 6 rounds of racing. So it really puts an emphasis on being consistent throughout the year. It's not we had a bad day, we can just forget about it. No, you got to come back and either bounce back from it or kind of be stuck where you are because of that one bad outing. So it really promotes consistent results over the 6 rounds of racing.
Give us a little overview of the event itself. Normally, the finale of the USPKS is in mid-July. This time, mid-October, down in North Carolina. I have to believe the weather, of course, quite a bit different. What was the weather like down there throughout the weekend? And overall, if you look at the racing, was it clean? How did things go red flag-wise?
Excuse me. Sorry, my throat's just bugging me right now. The weather-wise, yeah, it was obviously the first event ever for the program to be in October, so weather was a bit different than what we're used to. It was more similar to like an April event at GoPro where we've been, where the series actually began in April of 2013 at GoPro Motorplex. So it was a little bit similar to that, to where it was colder temperatures in the morning. I mean, you're talking 40 degrees, 44 degrees around that time when warm up began at 8 o'clock in the morning. The good thing about it was the sun was out all day long. So as soon as you got up, the sun came out, clear skies, bright blue skies out. So eventually it warmed up throughout the day. But again, it took time to get up into the 60-degree mark. Essentially, by the time the main event started, is about when you're like, okay, maybe I can take this jacket off. But yeah, so it was a bit chaotic in the morning with the colder temperatures. On track, the action was pretty good for normal starts. Pushback bumper still doing its job through the starts. So, you talk about the big fields, you didn't get the chaos that ensues typically when you have a large field in a different categories. So that was pretty good in terms of that. We did have some red flags though on the weekend. 2 on Saturday. No major issues in those. One was in K100 Senior main event. The other one in the mini Swift category. That was just kind of too many carts and not enough time to get them off the racetrack.
Okay.
The K1 was a little bit scary as two female drivers got together and went up into the fence at the end of the back straightaway. But thankfully, they were all able to kind of walk away, but the carts were not. So that was only a downside of that. The scary incident happened in the warm-up for X30 Pro Sunday morning. Again, we're talking colder temperatures, so it took a little bit for the MG yellow tires to kind of come up to temperature. But there was an issue with water getting dumped on the racetrack. Coming as you bend to the racetrack, you have the tight left-hander where we had our slow-mo camera, where there's a lot of runoff room with rumble strips and the jumps and everything like that. What we think is maybe a water pump began leaking water from that exit point through the left-hand kink and then down towards the hairpin. Well, as we talk about 44 degrees, the track is probably close to freezing temperatures. It's super close to that. And once the water,
it's holding the cold in from the night.
Yeah.
Right?
So once the water got dropped down, I mean, it was like literal ice. And I think we had anywhere between 10 and 12 drivers smash into the wall that was sitting right there. And unfortunately, there's a light pole that is there surrounded by walls, but with all the carts coming through and pushing everything away, wet grass, damp track, cold tires, it pushed all those barriers away after, 5-6 carts came through. Unfortunately, one of the last carts to come through was Cade Downs, and he actually hit the light pole with the cart. And I believe with his body as well. He suffered a major concussion and a broken rib, was actually knocked out for a little bit there, was resting on the exhaust. So it was a little bit of a scary moment. Thankfully, it was able to come to, and medical personnel along with race officials. I was there myself as well, kind of helped keep him calm and relaxed as he came to, and kind of made sure, there were no major injuries with either his head or his neck or anything else. And, thankfully we had Ari Demejian's dad, who is a neurosurgeon. He was there on site as well. So he was able to kind of examine him before, he was able to get up, and he kind of came to. The officials and everybody took their time getting him up out of the cart, letting him kind of, come out of the haze that he was in.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, it was just,
Wow.
a rare incident that, just kind of happened, and just something you can't really, there's nothing you could have done to prevent it, especially with all the different factors that came into it.
Oh man, I'm glad to hear that. And I think what's the update? Do you have an update on Cade at this point? I think I read that he did
concussion and broken rib. Yep.
That, but he's okay. All right, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, he's
know.
back home.
Okay,
they
great.
obviously went to the hospital to get to checked out and came up with the that medical results
diagnosis.
And diagnosis and so he's back home and we'll see. Hopefully, we'll see him on the racetrack soon again.
Yeah, we'll send our best from everybody here at EKN to Cade. So David, before we go to our first break, let's have a look at the numbers themselves. We said that record numbers, 223 total. What did the breakdown look like? It seems to me in some of the notes I have from you and from what happened, top class is pretty much the same in terms of X30 Junior, X30 Pro, and K100 Senior, all right around 38 to 42. Those are great numbers for any of these top level categories.
Yeah, as you said, the minimum was 20 entries in a category. That was X30 Masters, who was actually able to get into the 20 mark with one more than what they had at Newcastle to begin out the season. So it was good to see that. We saw an increase in Micro Swift. We saw an increase in X30 Junior, almost to the 40 mark. We had 39 drivers in that. And again, 42 was the highest with K100 Senior. So really across the board, massive numbers. A good average for the entire 2020 season across the board. Essentially what we saw at Newcastle and GoPro, we essentially saw at Road America, obviously a little bit down from that, probably about 50 down from that just because it was the middle of the year. And again, GoPro and Newcastle, they have locals. They have locals that come out and help pad those numbers. There are many locals in the in the micro and mini, and then obviously in the junior categories as well too. So, good numbers all around, and we're hoping to see those numbers continue to trend that way in 2021, especially when they go to 4 events.
Yeah, just good, really solid to have a strong kind of East Coast program like the USPKS has developed. Great for the series, great for the industry and the shops and teams that support it. And of course, great for racers. Man, everybody wants to race against big fields, and it was great to see that down at GoPro. Again, folks, episode 71 of the EKN Debrief. David Cole giving us the full breakdown of the final round of the United States Pro Kart Series event from GoPro Motorplex. We come back after this break. David Cole will give us a little breakdown in the Paddock Pass. Experience and passion. That's what led to the launch of AMAX Racing. Owner Charles Maxwell began AMAX Racing in 2015, expanding the operation in 2019 with a focus on driver development for drivers of all age groups and backgrounds. From top-level drivers to grassroots racers or families looking for a team that will help them achieve their goals, AMAX Racing can guide you with the absolute best trackside service at affordable prices. No matter the chassis, AMAX Racing welcomes you and has the experience to put you on the top of the podium. You can join the AMAX Racing family at the WK Manufacturers Cup Series, Route 66 Sprint Series, and local events around the Indianapolis area. The operation is also set to compete at the Rock the Rio and SCUSA Super Nationals later this season. For more information, contact them at 317-437-5886 or find them on Facebook. AMAX Racing, all of your karting needs under 110. Looking for that extra edge? Comet Racing Engines is your answer. The engine service program from Comet Kart Sales has been winning from coast to coast at all levels and different forms of the sport. Lead engine builders Mark Harrison and Gary Lawson have decades of karting experience, providing racers the power to reach the top step of the podium. Comet Racing Engines continually perform track and dyno tests to provide their customers with the cutting edge in engine performance. Comet specializes in Yamaha KT100, IAME Swift, IAME X30, IAME Leopard, and Rock engines. Trackside and customer support are the cornerstones of the Comet Racing Engines business, ensuring each and every customer receives personal attention and the help they need to achieve the best results. Engine rentals are available at all the events that Comet attends in 2018, including WKA, SCUSA, USPKS, and the Route 66 Sprint Series. contact the Comet team today at cometkartsales.com or by calling 317-462-3413. If you're looking to step up your engine program, send it to Comet Racing Engines. Welcome back to the EKN Debrief here on the EKN Radio Network. My name's Rob Howden. I'll kind of quarterback this, but David Cole doing the heavy lifting here as he was trackside at the USPKS finale at GoPro Motorplex, the Carolina Grand Prix in Mooresville, the finale for the series. Moving into the paddock pass right now, David will give us some insight on the event itself and stuff that he had working his way around the paddock. This edition of the Paddock Pass presented by Crosslink Competition. Are you searching for a program to elevate you in the motorsports ladder? Crosslink Competition is your next step. Team Crosslink offers driver development along with arrive and drive programs for karters wanting to contend at the national level. For drivers interested in making the jump from karting to cars, Crosslink Competition also provides a direct ladder for you to join their open wheel Formula Car program in the F4 US Championship. The Texas-based operation is also a full retail kart shop for the Prix chassis and OTK kart parts. Visit them at teamcrosslink.com. All right, David, let's jump into the paddock pass here right now. Give us some information on what you picked up. Maybe work in the paddock. What are the feel? What's going on? What's the talk? What happened in the paddock down at Mooresville?
Well, as we said at the beginning, the event was record-breaking with the 8th straight year going to the GoPro Motorplex and in the 8-year history for the series. But this one was the largest. Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Was that a talking point? Obviously, you and I, it's big for you and I. I'm sure Mark Coates and everybody. But were people chatting about the fact that they broke the record?
Well, yeah. I mean, really, it was huge because with Super Nats not coming around, people, that was kind of the idea is like, why are the numbers so big? So it's kind of the series has been doing well. Super Nats isn't going, so maybe more people came to the event than what were originally scheduled to. Rather than heading out to Vegas, they had the opportunity to go to GoPro. Especially in the season that we are in, like that's essentially what the talk is in terms of numbers. It's like, yeah, we have COVID-19 going on, but karting has been massive ever since really things got going again in June.
It really has.
And
right.
That's kind of, the shock of, man, how, it's great to see these numbers growing because, it says the industry is doing well. It says that people are interested in the sport, and it's saying that the USPKS program is doing what they want racers, what the racers want. And so, the only way to complement what they're doing is by bringing more people. The teams are coming in. There's talk about PSL karting coming in 2021, so that's going to even add to the number of teams that are already there. But again, that's the great thing about the USPKS program is that there's still about drivers out of the back of the pickups or just father and son in the trailer, or as like the Carapoletti brothers, they're working out of their easy ups, so it still has that, it doesn't have that kind of like this is it pressure. It just still has that fun atmosphere type mentality when you're in the paddock. But obviously the numbers, when you see all the numbers and the way the paddock was filled, and so that was a major talking point when talking to a lot of people Friday.
Well, David, I actually, the crazy thing is because you've been kind of the guy that's gone to these USPKS races for us. I don't think I've been to one yet, but you always talk about the culture there too. When you're cruising around the paddock afterwards, whether guys are playing cornhole or whatever it may be, basketball kind of pickup games. It seems like there's always been a really good vibe, a really good culture within the paddock for the USPKS.
Yeah, this year's a little different, obviously, with COVID-19. Yeah. There's not a lot of mingling between other teams, a few drivers or mechanics going here and there. But other than that, this year's not been the typical type of atmosphere that you would typically see at USPKS. So, hopefully we get through this COVID-19 pandemic and next year is a little bit more open to where we do see that type of atmosphere. But again, it's just, there's just not that sense, that something hanging over you of, I got to do good, or or, just the pressure, or, something like that. So
it seems like part of it's still the experience of just going there, right? Not the pressure of performing.
It's just, we're at the racetrack. I think that's what it boils down to is we're at the racetrack. We're here to do well. We're here to do good. We're here to have fun. So I think that's just kind of the overall atmosphere when you're in the paddock. I mean, it's still pretty intense when you're talking about competitive level. We'll get into it when we talk about some of the categories and how intense some of the racing was. And so it still has that intense factor on track, but it's still, a pretty subtle vibe in the paddock.
It feels to me a little bit when you bring up the whole COVID thing that, with the pandemic, with the shutdown, with people having to quarantine for a certain amount of time, just the thought of people who are racers, maybe once they were able to get back out and racing, maybe they took it for granted over the last couple of years, how lucky we are to do what we do, to be outside, to be among the community, whatever it may be. And everybody I talk to, and David, hear you talking about the USPKS, and it just feels like, people are going racing again. They're getting out and going racing because it's something that we're allowed to do, the freedom to be able to go out and race. I just think that people kind of embrace that. Carter's really said, you know what? We're super lucky to be able to do what we do, and we're going to get out and do it. And I think we've seen that, and I've heard that kind of vibe from coast to coast.
Yeah, it's not just USPKS. It's just the sport in general, really.
Yep. All right, let's talk. What about 2021? Obviously, you're at the finale. The dates getting released by USPKS. Chatter about that in the paddock as well.
Yeah, talking about, obviously, because the last 2-3 seasons have been only 3 events. So obviously the talk is, the expansion and where the finale is going to be. USPKS announced the 2021 schedule, going with Ocala in March, Newcastle between the last weekend of April, beginning weekend of May, along with going back to Road America, this time in the middle of July. And then adding a 4th event now in October. So it'll be the 2nd straight year that the series ends in October. So just kind of speculation and talk about where it's going to be. GoPro is certainly on the list as well, but they're still looking at possibly going to other racetracks as well too.
Interesting. Anything else in the paddock that stood out for you?
Well, overall, I think there was, with the colder temperatures, and something we experienced at Road America was the oil. The ceramic oil was something that kind of caught people off guard a little bit at Road America, not being able to mix well with the VP fuel. They added the red line oil as a alternative oil for the GoPro weekend. Unfortunately, I heard the red line oil was not in stock anywhere, or people did not plan accordingly, as we've seen with rain tires, to where they would bring enough oil that they need for their race team or for themselves. And so they ended up adding a 3rd alternative oil, adding the Motul, due to a shortage in the red line oil. So it was a little interesting. You walk down the grid, you saw some fuel tanks that had a blue color. You saw some with a red color. It was a little different because you typically see the same fuel color for everybody. Yeah. So this year, this race with multiple different oils allowed, it was a little bit different. So we'll see what the series does for 2021. I know they had to deal with ceramic. I'm not quite sure if it was a multiple year or if it was just for 2020. And then see what they can do about how the oil mixed with the VP fuel and solve the gumming up that we saw in the colder temperatures.
All right. Anything else for the paddock pass, or are we going to call that a wrap?
Yeah, that's a wrap. Like as we said, we talk about how 2020 went. Things are looking forward for 2021, and again, just really. The only thing that people were talking about or was an issue that was going on was the oil.
Yeah. Okay. All right, folks. When we get back after this second break in the action, it's time to start talking race reports. David's going to give us his overview of the X30 Pro class and the X30 Junior class. So stay with us. More to come here on this edition of the EKN Debrief. All over the karting world, everyone knows OTK is the gold standard for quality and performance. In the US, OTK USA is the source for all things OTK. From the legendary Tony Kart brand to the race-winning Cosmic and Esprit chassis, And the new for 2020 in the US, the Red Speed and the EOS, OTK quality is second to none. All 5 brands are winning races and championships across the country in national programs like the Rock Cup Florida Winter Tour and the Challenge of the Americas, the SCUSA Pro Tour and the SCUSA Winter Series and the Pro Kart Challenge, and the United States Pro Kart Series and the WK Manufacturers Cup. And OTK products are also front and center on the podium of club and regional races from coast to coast. To learn more about a specific product line or to find the OTK USA dealer near you, whether it's Tony Kart, Cosmic, Prix, Red Speed, or EOS, visit www.otkusa.com. Specific chassis territories are still available, so kart shops interested in adding a winning component to their product lineups can contact OTK directly. "2019 was a great year, no question. But the off-season is here, and I know that your mind is already thinking about next season. We all want to get better and improve our skills and our racecraft. And maybe you're tired of missing the podium or even the championship. So what do? Here's what I think. Take a breather from throwing money at the newest speed secret and a new chassis you don't quite need yet. Invest in yourself. Take yourself to the next level as a driver. If you want to improve your results, do what every athlete does, regardless of the sport. Get professional coaching. And in karting, there's only one choice: the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy, located at the state-of-the-art Speed Sports Racing Park in Houston. Alan Rudolph is a legend in our sport, and he's been a coach for over 15 years. The Alan Rudolph Racing Academy offers custom coaching programs for newcomers and experienced racers alike. Train with a champion with over 30 years of racing experience to get proven results. Get ready for 2020 by calling 866-607-7223 or head to speedsportsracingpark.com to learn more. Back with episode 71 of the EKN Debrief. David Cole giving everyone his review of the final round of the US PKS program at GoPro Motorplex in Mooresville. Jumping into the race report right now, we'll work our way through all 7 categories. David will, as always, start off with a headline, then David will kind of fill in the blanks from there. This edition of the race report presented by Atlanta Motorsports Park. In Las Vegas last November, at the Rock the Rio finale and the SCUSA Super Nationals, Formula K reigned supreme, winning the headline shifter kart main events. Atlanta Motorsports Park is the North American importer and distributor for the Formula K and Praga chassis, and they have 2020 karts in stock to support new dealers. AMP also has previous year models in inventory available for racers who want a winning chassis at a discounted price of up to 40% off. Contact us directly for pricing and head to atlantamotorsportspark.com/karting to learn more about Formula K, Praga, and AMP's karting program. All right, David, let's jump into X30 Pro. Of course, that the headline Pro category, great numbers, as you had said. And the headline for this one, and man, this when I was following throughout the weekend, and you were posting session results up on Facebook and Twitter, and I was kind of following along. I'm like, man, this is looking big. The headline: Jarsakrak makes history with 4th straight title. Absolutely amazing for Brandon Jarsakrak.
Yeah, that was a story going in. Obviously, it was him leading the championship chase going into the weekend. So it was following him throughout the course of the weekend to see if he was able to score that victory or score the championship. But with 2 rounds of racing, you don't know exactly what's going to happen until the final checkered flag is waved. We got through Saturday's competition, and it was Ryan Orberg setting fast time in qualifying. Ryan among the championship contenders going into the weekend, and also 4-time champion in the SCUSA Pro Tour ranks for his own. So quite interesting there to see 2 drivers with possibility of 4 championships. But again, Jarsakrak turned up the wick when it came to the pre-final and the final, essentially driving to a wire-to-wire victory in the main event to actually score his first victory of the 2020 season in the USPKS competition. RPG drivers were really quick towards the second half of the main event and were able to charge back forward, just not enough time to run down Jarsakrak and what really is a long race. But again, the karts just didn't quite come in soon enough to be able to to chop off the lead that Jarzakrak had. Ryan Norberg led that charge, ending up with the second position ahead of Jonathan Ports. They would led a group trying to run down Jarzakrak. Luca Mars was in that group along with Road America winner Diego Canteca, ending up in the fifth spot.
One thing we'll do throughout this broadcast, folks, and this edition of the debrief, especially with the fields being so deep, David's going to pick up a hard charger to talk about for every category. David, who made the biggest moves here in X30 Pro?
Yeah, with the great Race Hero app that we're able to kind of watch and see where guys are able to make their way up through the field, and especially with the big numbers that we do have in all the categories that we have at the USPKS. We as you said, we do the hard charger, and we're able to kind of point out who was a driver able to gain the most positions in Saturday's main event for X30 Pro was Talon Yako, coming up from 32nd to the 16th position.
So points after the opening round of the weekend, Jarzakrak with a 148-point lead over Paulie Massimino. Norberg back by 211. So Jarzakrak, of course, with the pre-final win and the race win, has himself pretty much locked in. David, let's move to Sunday and give us a kind of a rundown of how things happened on the final day of action.
Well, with a victory under his belt, you kind of had to think that Jarzakrak was going to keep the pace going over the next day, and he did. Ended up almost scoring a complete sweep. It was Brandon Lemke, though, that set fast time in qualifying to kind of disrupt that. Lemke was super quick all weekend long, had an issue in qualifying on Saturday that sent him at the back of the field. He nearly drove up through the entire field on Saturday to get into the top five, just came up short on Saturday, but ended up setting fast time in qualifying on Sunday. Was up front all weekend long, but Jarzakrak really shined once again on Sunday. This time had a little bit of a fight on his hands, though, when it came to the main event. Jarzakrak led early, but was run down again by a Rollison Performance Group driver. This time it was Hannah Greenmeyer making her first USPKS start. She was able to kind of come up and take the lead for a brief moment until Jarzakrak took over the position again. And then at the end of the race, Brandon Tyner, another RPG driver, made his charge for the victory, but just came up short as Jarzakrak was able to hold him off in the final lap to secure the victory. At the line, Lemke was able to get by Tyner along with Hannah Greenmeyer, so they completed the podium for round 6. Tyner ended up finishing 4th, with Norberg sitting there in 5th.
Yeah, talk about a way to put an exclamation point on your 4th straight championship, and that's win both main events, right, at the finale. That's impressive for Jarzakrak. You think about it, David, and I know we'll go to the hard charger still. You talk about the money and everything, but you talk about the kind of the decade that we've had, and it's been these two drivers for the last 4 to 5 years who have really been the absolute dominant drivers, both in the SCUSA Pro Tour and the USPKS. And that's Ryan Norberg and Brandon Jarzakrak, right? And them going head-to-head this year. Jarzakrak coming out on top in the USPKS program. But really, those two drivers, really the two best tag drivers in the country over the last 5 years.
Well, ironically, Brandon Lemke was the last driver to win a USPKS championship in the X30 Pro category, aside from Jarzakrak. So, nice. So going back to 2016, it's been Lemke, Jarzakrak. They've been among the top drivers in X30 Pro. Alex Bertignoli is another. It was an interesting weekend and we'll talk a little bit more in K100 Junior. Ariz Dugmejian, who is our EKN driver, number 1 driver in the tag rankings. He was actually testing over in Portugal for the upcoming World Karting Championship. So he didn't arrive until Friday evening, if not Saturday morning. So he had no practice time whatsoever. And it was kind of a catch-up game for Dugmejian all weekend long. So a former winner on the year, won the opening round, and X30 Pro was among those in the championship fight early on. Ended up finishing 5th in the points, but just didn't, obviously scheduling conflict didn't really help him in that, right? So, but again, so it's going to make for our driver rankings certainly interesting with 2 big rounds of racing for Norberg and Jarzakrak.
Yeah, you're right. No doubt about that. All right, let's cap off Sunday, David, with our hard charger. Who's the driver who made the biggest move?
Finn Bailiff was able to score the hard charger of the race. Finnegan came from the 35th position up to 18th in the 24-lap race. So that's one thing I don't remember.
I think it was 24. I remember we did the outlap.
Was it 24 or 20? That's why I can't remember. 24 or 20? Yep, 24. So 24 laps was able to gain that many positions. So a good run for him aboard the Trinity karting group, Tony Kart.
Hey, one thing about the USPKS that Mark Coates has done, man, dropping the big money, right? Let's talk about the cash payout for the X30 Pro and the combined weekend, because man, that's big dough for a guy that you like to call money.
Yeah, he earned his nickname again with the X30 Pro category, giving away, I believe it's $15,000, whatever, $5,000 to the winner. Jarzakrak came out as the money winner at Road America and did so again at GoPro with his 2 victories on the weekend. So he earned a $5,000 paycheck. So $10,000 in 2 weekends is not a bad rake in.
No way. That's amazing.
Norberg ended up finishing in second, taking home $2,500. Jonathan Ports in third with $1,250. Lemke, a $750 check, with Hannah Greenmeyer taking home $500 for the top 5 in the money category.
And David, a pretty solid point win for Jarzakrak as well. Paulie Massimino second in points, 262 back. So all in all, as you had said before, kind of Jarzakrak really stepping things up here at the end of the season to grab a hold of that title.
Yeah, Massimino was quick, did the double duty, but I don't think it really hampered him. I just don't think he had the kind of racing luck that he had earlier in the year to be in the runner-up position. So wasn't able, and obviously with Jarzakrak scoring nearly maximum points on the weekend, very hard to compete with that. Massimino was actually one of the karts that was involved in the Sunday morning wreck. The Mike Doty racing team essentially took another frame out of the trailer, put everything on the new frame, all in the matter of between warm-up and qualifying, and he qualified 4th. So first laps out on a kart, brand new kart, was P4 in qualifying. So pretty good effort by Massimino, but still finishing up second. But he did beat Ryan Norberg overall in the point standings, with Lemke 4th. And as I said, Ariz Zumedjian in the 5th spot.
Yeah, 25 points separating second, third, and fourth. But you mentioned it a little brief and talking about Paulie, but that's a Mike Doty Racing 1-2 in the points, right?
Yeah, Mike Doty 1-2. You got a Rollison Performance Group in 3rd, Franklin Motorsports in 4th, and Kart Sport North America in 5th. So 4 different teams in the top 5.
Let's go to X30 Junior now, folks. David will give us the breakdown from GoPro. The headline, dramatic finish to championship chase.
Very dramatic. I mean, this was really the only category that we're kind of watching as the as a laps went into the books come Sunday main event. So this was the one class that we were kind of watching as they were making different positions and different passing maneuvers. And but it all began on Saturday to kind of set the stage for what happened for Sunday. Brent Cruz and Alex Stanfield trailed Jace Park by just 5 points going into the weekend. Park ended up having a pretty challenging weekend, was quick, just didn't quite get the results he wanted to, and wasn't able to challenge there for the championship when it came down to the wire. Cruz ended up setting fast time in qualifying on Saturday, with Stanfield earning the pre-final win. So he got some extra points there. Cruz was actually in a wreck in the pre-final and ended up finishing 20th. Had his hand actually driven over, I believe, and had a cut on his hand all weekend long. So was kind of struggling, not really struggling, but nursing that hand a little bit as the weekend went on. But still a strong performance by him all weekend long. The main event, though, I tell you what, this was probably one of the best we had seen all season long when it came to X30 Junior. I can't really tell you how many were involved in the lead group because it just kind of changed as the last couple of laps went on. Essentially, it was all decided as what we typically see at the GoPro Motorplex with the in the hairpin corner, which is a tight left-hander. And I drove it Monday, and it's not as smooth as it used to be. So it certainly is one of the most challenging corners that they do have on the racetrack. But with, probably 6-7 drivers in the lead group, contact kind of ensued through the hairpin. And Max Opalski was able to kind of slip through all of that, came out as a leader, was able to hold on to the line to score his first victory, I believe first victory of the season in the category. So it was just, once everybody crossed the line, it was like, man, that was a great race. But just so much action going on. It's kind of hard to describe it. You just had to be there to see it.
Well, the fight between Stanfield and Cruz obviously kind of heating up, but Stanfield got second there, I think, right? And Cruz third. So it kind of gapped Stanfield a little bit going into Sunday.
Yeah, obviously with the pre-final win, gave him some extra points there, and then scoring the one more position in the final gave him a little bit more points and set up for Stanfield to lead in the championship chase by 49 points heading into Sunday's action.
Yeah, before you give us the rest of the top five, I guess the guy in P4 can kind of blend this together with the naming of the hard charger, because it was Alessandro Di Tullio, right, David, who came from the back right into the lead pack.
Yeah, amazing drive. It's something we've been seeing in the junior categories, and especially at the USPKS with the long pre-finals and long finals. We're able to see drivers kind of negotiate their way up through the field, despite, maybe some issues in the pre-final. Alessandro Di Tullio ended up scoring at DNF, was out on lap 7 in the pre-final. So essentially started dead last in the main event, started in the 38th position, as you said, raced his way all the way up into the lead group, was among those drivers jostling for position in the hairpin corner, just came out short, ended up finishing in the 4th position. John Burke, another driver we've seen do a lot of drive from behind. And we'll talk about another one later on in the broadcast, but John Burke ended up finishing in 5th.
And Dave, the headline, as you said, dramatic finish to championship chase. Stanfield leads Cruz by 49 points heading into Sunday. And then Cruz comes out and does what Brent does, qualifies on pole and wins the pre-final. Man, the pressure for the final must have been an all-time high.
Yeah, essentially, you get 10 points for the for the fast time, so that knocked the advantage down to 39 points. And I want to say Stanfield was second in the pre-final. I'm looking that up right now. It was second in the pre-final. So Cruz gained just essentially 5 more points on that. So gained 15 points in those first 2 sessions. So made it, essentially a 30-point swing, depending on where they finished in the main event. So this was really the one category we're kind of watching, and that we saw a very tight points chase going into the main event. And as you said, Cruz started on the main event in the pole position. Essentially, again, another wild race where multiple lead changes took place. Some drivers in the lead pack, they get shuffled back. They regain the pack again. So it was kind of just another race all over the place. But to sum it up, Cruz led with 2 laps to go in the race. As him leading gave him the championship lead over where Stanfield was running at the time. With 2 laps to go, he got shuffled back. Alessandro Di Tullio got through, got around him, and then brought a pack of drivers with him as well. And I think that dropped Cruz all the way down to 7th. And the key point was falling behind Stanfield, thus losing all the points he had to win the championship were now gone, and had to try and claw his way back. Unfortunately, wasn't able to. On track, though, Di Tullio was able to hold on through the final 2 laps of the race to score his first victory on the season in the category. Saturday's winner, Max Opolsky, ended up finishing in 2nd with Thomas Nunziata in 3rd. Alex Stanfield ended up finding his way up into the 4th position with John Burke in 5th. We'll talk a little bit more about Burke, but then Cruz ended up finishing in the 6th position, not giving him enough points to obviously beat Stanfield, who finished ahead of him, thus giving the championship to Alex Stanfield for the year.
Wow, that's big. 54 points, the gap between 1st and 2nd. David will go more into that. We'll hit the cash as well. But you mentioned John Burke coming to P5. David, the reason why he gets a second mention here in this particular part of the debrief, he's your hard charger.
Yeah, another driver who had a bit of an issue, wasn't able to actually make the start of the race. I don't know exactly what happened, but came to the grid late after the class had already made its way onto the racetrack. Grid was closed, wasn't able to make the start of the race, thus had to watch from the sidelines. So didn't have the extra 16 laps that everybody did in the main or in the pre-final, but still was able to drive his way forward up into the 5th position.
All right, money up for grabs in this one too. How did it all shake down? Who ended up taking home the big cash?
Again, as the money is awarded, it's based on just the main event results. So that's what you consider when you take in the cash draw or cash awards. The two winners finished 1-2. Max Opolsky ended up taking home the number one prize, which was $2,500. Alessandro De Turo taking home second with $1,500. Alex Stanfield $750, and then Brent Cruz $500 check.
And as we had said, Stanfield with a 54-point lead and the win and the title in the USPKS program over Cruz. Opolsky with that great finish to the weekend, or the series rather, ends up 157 points back. Kudos to Alex Stanfield and, of course, Brandon Jarsakrak, our first two champions we've crowned here on the debrief. After this break back again with the Atlanta Motorsports Park Race Report, KA100 Senior, KA100 Junior, and X30 Masters up next.
Wins in the sport's biggest races and championships in national and regional series all over the country, they're all on Nitro Kart's resume. The Nitro Kart has made its statement as the best, fastest, and winningest cadet chassis on the American market. The 2020 Nitro Cadet is even better. The kart features magnesium front and rear hubs, a floating sprocket hub, and a roller-bearing steering column support with toe lock. The Nitro Kart Cadet is completed with Mini Dynamica bodywork and Max Pappas's MPI steering wheel. If you want to win in Cadet, get a Nitro Kart and join our team.
I am Nitro Kart Mini driver and national champion Spencer Conrad. We just got our 2020 Cadet chassis just before Daytona this year, and I really like it a lot. I got my first victory with it in just the second time on track. I really like the MPI wheel and the new brake system. Plus, the bodywork is really cool. Come join the winningest cadet team on the market, Team Nitro. Race one or chase one.
Nitro Kart! Race one or chase one!
Acceleration Kart Racing is your first and only stop on the internet for karts, parts, and safety gear to get you on the track. ShopAKRA.com offers a great selection of karting equipment on a user-friendly website. Acceleration Kart Racing has aligned itself with many of the top manufacturers and distributors in the sport to ensure that all the latest equipment is available to you, the consumer. With customer support available 6 days a week, you can be confident about getting the right parts at the right price. Be sure to visit shopakr.com today or stop by their headquarters in Las Vegas. Also, follow them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest specials, clearance items, and new products. Welcome back to the 71st edition of the EKN Debrief here on the EKN Radio Network. And again, today's broadcast brought to you by MG Tires. Big thank you to MG for being our presenting sponsor of the Debrief. David, let's jump now back into the race report brought to you by Atlanta Motorsports Park. KA100 Senior, biggest field, I think, on the weekend. And the headline, which I love, 6 different winners in 6 rounds.
That right there was the really is the headline, because we hadn't had any other category on the year have that. So it's KA100 Senior, the only division on the year to have 6 different winners in the 6 rounds of racing we had. It just goes to show you, and we keep promoting it over and over again, just how great the KA100 racing really is. Sorry,
okay,
I had to cough.
Get some water, man.
I do. So again, championship still on the line. Not quite sure who was going to be able to come out with 2 different rounds of going on. Brendan Lemke led the championship coming into the weekend. Set fast time in qualifying. Really, the weekend was about 2 drivers, him and Hayden Jones. They were able to, excuse me, man, it's just bad.
You're struggling.
Yeah, I know. It's coming back to this cold weather. I'm telling you, man, it's not good.
That's it.
Just got a text from Sean Beer. It's probably nice, and it's not warm in California, but it was warm in Carolina. So I'm not quite sure what's going on. And I hate talking. You know that too.
Good.
Hayden Jones, yeah, as I said, Lemke and Hayden Jones were essentially kind of the top two drivers throughout Saturday. Lemke was quickest in qualifying. Hayden Jones ended up winning the pre-final. Main event, Lemke kind of got shuffled back early on, but fought back up into the lead. AJ Myers, who was a two-time pro shifter kart champion in SCUSA competition, coming back to a USPKS competition, a former X30 Pro champion as well, too. I believe he won the year before Lemke, but he was running in the K100 senior category aboard the new Magic Kart. Myers was among the quickest all weekend as well, too. Just wasn't able to get up front until towards the main event time. Myers made a move on the last lap, just kind of shuffled things up to get by Lemke as they went into the hairpin corner. They drifted wide. Jones kind of pulled the over-under, slipped past both of them on the exit of the hairpin, and then from there went on to take the checkered flag for his first victory of the season in the category. Lemke ended up clawing his way back into the second position before the checkered flag. Hannah Greenemeyer doing the double duty, again making her first start at USPKS. Slipped by Myers to end up in the third spot on the podium. Hard charger and our fifth place finisher, Paulie Massimino. Paulie was doing double duty, had an issue in qualifying, sat out the pre-final, so came out 42nd on the grid for the main event and drove his way all the way up into the fifth position. So amazing drive by Massimino to end up on the top five.
Let me give you a hand here, David, with some of the heavy lifting.
Thanks.
Here. I'll if it doesn't need any insight on the track, I'll try to help you out here.
Yeah, thanks, Rob.
I'm trying to help you out, and you get snarky with me. Wow, have a Snickers.
I do.
Lemke with the points lead after Saturday by 153 over Arias Dukmejian. Hayden Jones right there at 199, close to Dukmejian. Lemke, of course, with a pretty good position in the points heading into the sixth round of the series. Out of the gate, though, David, on Sunday, Hayden Jones ends up going on the pole and qualifying, but Lemke coming back and getting those big points in the pre-final as well, probably giving him a little bit of breathing room, knowing that he was able to steal those pre-final points away from everybody else trying to chase him in the championship.
Yeah, essentially the championship was his, unless he had a catastrophic failure in the main event. The championship was his. So it essentially boiled down to going out for the race victory. And again, another great battle. You know, we had multiple leaders throughout the race. Massimino was there. Lemke was there. Bertignolli led at one time. Greenemeyer led. It was just kind of all different drivers. It ended up being Arias Dukmejian leading at the white flag until Massimino was able to drive down the back straightaway and steal the lead from him as they made their way through the bull corner. Massimino held on through the hairpin and the double rights and the final corner to be able to reach the checkered flag. Lemke ended up winning the battle for second behind him with Alex Bertignolli coming through in third. Greenemeyer ended up fourth with Nathan Cicero ended up in the fifth position. I want to say Dukmejian slipped. Yeah, Dukmejian slipped all the way to seventh with Hayden Jones sliding through in the sixth position.
All right, let me set this up for you, David. Hard charger Mike McAndrews, a 34th was the start, able to work his way up to 13th position. Can you give us some insight on McAndrews' move forward?
No, I can't. I didn't really until I wrote who the hard charger was. I wasn't quite sure what happened. Again, there's.
Well, it sounds like you're watching all the battling up front, back and forth.
I mean, that's essentially what you're doing when you're seeing multiple lead changes, lap after lap after lap. McAndrews shows here as no completed laps in the pre-final. I'm not sure if he was involved in an opening lap wreck. Again, not. So I apologize for not knowing exactly what happened to him in the pre-final, but again, I didn't know he was hard charger until I wrote the script.
Well, nicely done. Brandon Lemke, folks, ends up winning the championship, 214 points over Arias Dukmejian. Much closer battle for second. Hayden Jones ends up just 20 points back in third. Alex Bertignolli in fourth, and Blake Hunt in the fifth spot. We'll move now to the KA100 junior category, and I'll kind of get things started. Let David have a breather here. The headline: Cruz earns second straight title. So obviously battling for the championship in X30 Junior, but battles his way and wins the second straight title in KA100. David, on Saturday, Cameron Weinberg on the Tony Kart ends up qualifying P1, but Mateo Rubio Luengo, the driver who works his way to the front, in really both the pre-final and the final, you can tell us kind of how things shook down in that category.
Yeah, the Super Tune drivers were really quick, ironically, all using Comet racing engine power, something that they've been doing all season long in the K100 division. So a kind of Super Tune Comet relationship there. Weinberg moving over to Super Tune just recently certainly was quick. It was kind of weird because the teammates don't work together, but yet they're out on track together at the same time. Just something I always questioned as the race was going on and kind of watching what was going on with the category. But John Burke was actually up there as well. So you had three of the Super Tune drivers together towards the front. Burke, though, ended up recording a DNF with what I believe was a broken chain. So, but out front in the main event, Mateo Rubio Luengo and Christian Miles were able to kind of get away. Miles essentially locked his front bumper on the back of Mateo Rubio Luengo's, and they were able to kind of get away. It looked like Miles was just kind of setting up for a final lap, but Mateo was super strong in the final laps and was able to kind of pull away to nearly a 2-second advantage by the time they reached the checkered flag. Cameron Weinberg ended up finishing in the third position, winning that battle just ahead of Brent Cruz, with Aiden Levy, a local driver from the GoPro Motorplex, finishing in the fifth position.
Obviously a strong finish for Brent Cruz, not up front, not on the podium, but P4 still enough to give him a 59-point advantage heading into Sunday. Before we jump into Sunday, David, let's talk about the hard charger in KA100 Junior on Saturday. Dalton Haynes on the Tony Kart coming from 31st up to 11th.
Yeah, another GoPro Motorplex local. Certainly showed how quick he was on Saturday, making the hard charger move, coming up from 31st to 11th. But and we'll talk a little bit more about him on Sunday.
All right, so let's go into Sunday. Cameron Weinberg, we talked, and David, you talked about how quick he was on the Tony Kart, qualifies on pole on Saturday, does the same thing on Sunday, and then ends up winning the pre-final as well. So obviously he's got pace and the ability to show it on the racetrack. Talk a little bit about how the main event rolled in. 6 drivers, you're saying, running up front.
Yeah, it was about 6 drivers, a little bit more early on. Again, a lot of shuffling was taking place up front. Among those that were shuffled back was John Burke. John Burke got shuffled back to, I believe, 6th. I think he was helped pushed up by Dalton Haynes at one point. So Dalton Haynes was among one of those the quick drivers that was kind of in the top 6 pack. Excuse me. And they were able to kind of get themselves back in the hunt for the lead, because again, unlike what we saw on Saturday, guys were kind of shuffling up, even though they had a good advantage up front. We had, I want to say anywhere between 6 to 10 different lead changes alone throughout the main event. But up front, Burke was able to kind of get his way back to the group, and then took advantage of them shuffling and was able to come through and take the lead as they were coming up to the white flag. And then again, unable to get overtaken, and came across as the provisional winner for the race win. But a 2-position penalty for contact dropped him 2 positions. Thus that
Okay, so Burke gets dropped down to 3rd on the race.
This one's going to be a little bit too. We got to take it nice and easy and go slow with everything. So
okay, go for it.
So yes, John Burke crossed the line as the provisional winner. That was it. Okay. Was assessed 2-position penalty for contact on the racetrack. That dropped him down to the 3rd position and moved Cameron. Oh, which one was it again? Sorry, want to get it right. Yep, Cameron Weinberg to the provisional lead or provisional win. Cameron Weinberg then in tech is removed from the results for something in tech. Thus, that promotes Christian Miles up to the top of the podium for what is his first victory in the category. That then moves John Burke up into the 2nd spot again, and then Brent Cruz finishing in 3rd. As I said, Dalton Haynes was up there. It was actually provisional in the 6th position, but received 4th position for pushback bumper. Thomas Annunziata thus ends up in 4th, Aiden Levy in 5th, and it was just a completely complicated finish to what was, a pretty crazy race.
Well, the bottom line is this. Brent Cruz, on the strength of a 4th on Saturday and a 3rd on Sunday, ends up with a 47-point advantage over Christian Miles to win the championship in the KA100 junior category. Weston Workman back by 104 points. Aiden Levy ends up in 4th, and Thomas Annunziata in 5th overall in the points. Hard charger for this one here. Very similar to what we saw at Dalton Haynes, 31st to 11th, 30th to 12th for Braden Robertson, an 18-point move forward on Sunday's main event.
Yeah, some of it is positions on track. Some of it is pushback bumpers. There was, I think, 9 drivers with pushback bumper penalties.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty aggressive. All right, let's, David, have another drink of water. Let's set things up here in the X30 Masters category. The headline, Cop becomes 5th different title winner, which is fantastic for the X30 Masters class. One of the cool things coming in, though, is obviously the participation of a professional driver and, of course, IndyCar race steward as well, Max Pappas. Max, David, out of the gate, was obviously he likes, you and I talked about this in the Outlap preview podcast. He loves coming to race GoPro, does get a chance to run on it on a regular basis. The track is a replica of Sarno, which was his favorite track as a kid.
Parma.
Parma, pardon me. Favorite track as a kid. He qualifies on the pole, wins the pre-final, and wins the main event. I'm not going to say how everything shook down. You can give us a more in-depth, overview of the race. The bottom line is he tops all 3 sessions on Saturday.
Was essentially the fastest driver all Saturday. Roberts gave him a little bit of a challenge in I believe, the opening lap of the final, but a mechanical issue for Roberts put him on the sideline on lap 2. Then from there, Pappas essentially ran away with the victory. David Gallowina, last year's champion, ended up driving to 2nd, jumping up ahead of point leader Scott Kopp in 3rd. Sean Owens, who we talked about in the Outlap, making his return behind the wheel, was in the 4th position, but ended up getting a pushback bumper penalty that took him out of the top 5, moving Rob Mayer up into the 4th position in his RPG Cosmic, with Scott Carboletti into the 5th position.
Hard charger Alex Mueller, 19th to 7th. Any insight on that?
Yeah, GoPro regular who followed the series all year long, has kind of been among the quick drivers, just not able to kind of get himself up onto the podium. So an issue in the pre-final put him at the end of the main event grid, and a good drive for him all the way up into the 7th position.
Now, I apologize. I don't know the breakdown of how many points are actually on offer each day in the Masters category, but Scott Kopp with a 250-point lead over Scott Roberts going into Sunday. Had he already clinched it at that point?
It was, well, essentially because there's a minimum of 260 points available, with 10 for qualifying. Winning your pre-final is 50, 200 for winning, and then you add on the amount of entries onto that. So the mathematically, the championship was not clinched going into Sunday.
All right, so Sunday, Max Pappas keeps it rolling. Ends up qualifying on pole again, pre-final as well. But what happened, David, in the main event that kept Max from sweeping the weekend?
Yeah, Pappas was right there looking for a second victory on the weekend. But on lap 5, coming through the tight left-hander that has the major rumble strips and jump, chucked a broken chain, and thus coasted to a stop. He wasn't the only one. Another driver later on in the race did exactly the same spot. And then coming out of the hairpin, Sean Owens, who was running in the 4th position, had a chain break on him as well. So ironically, a lot of chains breaking on the weekend throughout the different categories, not just in this category, but many of the others that were on track. But
is that not the worst sound as a driver to hear in karting?
It is, and I noticed a lot of people weren't running the chain guards that we saw at Road America. So I'm not quite sure if maybe that needs to be more of a common use, especially when you have the dragon teeth that GoPro Motorplex does have.
Yeah. All right, David.
So out front,
trouble. Yeah.
So out front, with Pappas gone. Scott Roberts, who was able to overcome the mechanical issues from Saturday, was essentially running up front. It was essentially between him and Scott Kopp for the victory. Kopp was kind of just sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. Finally made his move, got to the lead, and then for some reason didn't quite get through the double right-handers as well as he had been getting. Kind of essentially opened up the door for Roberts to come through. Roberts dove to the inside, made the move, took over the lead, and then took the checkered flag for the provisional victory. Unfortunately, a pushback bumper penalty for Roberts moved him from first on the podium to the third position, thus giving Scott Kopp his fourth victory of the season.
Ouch. Ends up being a 277-point win for Scott Kopp to be the fifth different title winner. We'll come back to that in a second. David, one of the big movers, obviously the hard charger on Sunday. You talked about him getting into the top five. Trevor Adams on the Tony Kart, 17th up into the top five.
Yeah, Adams had a broken chain on Saturday. He was one of the victims of that. And I believe the similar situation in the pre-final, thus putting him in at the back. Started 17th, got up to fifth, finishing in the fifth spot behind Paul Montopoli, thank you, in the comp cart, who was able to drive to the fourth position. Again, some pushback bumper penalties. Alex Mueller, Danny Robertson, that allowed Paul Montopoli to move up into fourth, and then Adams to the fifth position.
Again, so Scott Kopp with the championship. A great season for Scott. Scott Roberts ends up 277 points back. Galowina, 328 back. Mueller and Christian Vomier rounding out the top five in the championship standings for X30 Masters. All right, two more breaks. This one here, and we'll get back here and cap things off for the race report. Mini Swift and Micro Swift up next. Top-level production with a focus on a single form of motorsports, karting. This is MG Tires. MG Tires USA, underneath the Vantage Karting Group banner, is the official distributor of the MG Tires brand for the United States. MG Tires are the official spec tire in the United States Pro Kart Series, Route 66 Sprint Series, Sunshine State Karting Challenge, and countless clubs across the country. No matter your compound preference, MG Tires USA has you covered. The 2020 season brings a new homologation period, featuring new names for the same superior products. Whether it's the medium SH Red, the soft SM Yellow, the super soft green SS, or the intermediate white IZ, MG Tires USA has your winning set of rubber in stock. Indoor and outdoor rental facilities can now trust MG Tires with their solution for long-lasting and the best performance, with 3 different compounds available through the RL line. For more info about MG Tires USA and its extensive list of dealers near you, check out their website at mgtiresusa.com. MG Tires, for the drivers. In karting, it's important to be supported by the right people. With over 40 years of experience in the sport, Trinity Karting Group has everything you need to make your program successful. We do it all, and we do it right. Trackside support and arrive and drive programs at many of karting's biggest East Coast events, full product sales and service, and professional coaching from our experienced staff. Trinity Karting Group is a full-service operation based at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, which gives us access to our custom-designed driver training facility. This allows us to offer private one-on-one coaching to take you to the next level. We're also your Midwest home for Tony Kart and IAME, and we're your source for MG and Iveco tires in the region. Tony Kart quality cannot be beat, so call us today to put you in a new chassis for your next event. In 2020, we'll be racing and providing arrive and drive programs for the full SuperKarts USA Pro Tour and the Great Lakes Pro Kart Challenge, the WK's Kart Week in Daytona, and exciting events like the USAC Battle at the Brickyard and the Rock Island Grand Prix. From arrive and drive and coaching programs to the parts you need, let Trinity Karting Group provide you with customer service and a racing experience second to none. Trinity Karting Group has a long history in the sport, a winning pedigree, and we're dedicated to driver development. We take pride in our professional approach and our positive attitude. Let us build a custom race program for you. Give us a call at 513-421-4463 or check us out online at trinitykartinggroup.com. Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network and episode 71 of the EKN Debrief. Rob Howden alongside David Cole as he provides us with all the review of the action at the USPKS finale at GoPro Motorplex. This race report brought to you by Atlanta Motorsports Park. David, let's move into the Mini Swift category. I'll get things underway for you. The headline, Garcia claims championship off 4-win streak. Getting things rolling on Saturday, though, Mateus Orjuela on the Paralympic. David, seems like he was a quick guy out of the gate, qualified on pole, and won the pre-final.
He certainly was going into the weekend as one of the championship contenders, and so he needed to do what he could do to be able to cut into the lead that Max Garcia had. So earning the 10-point bonus in qualifying and winning the pre-final certainly did that. But obviously the main events are where you earn your keep. And there it was Garcia that was able to score the victory. He and Spencer Conrad were able to break away from the field. It looked like Conrad again was kind of setting Garcia up to take the victory, took over the lead, but Garcia worked by him back in the hairpin on the final lap and then held on to cross the line first and score his third straight victory on Saturday. Conrad ended up finishing in the second spot, Mateus in the third position. So a good points day, but still, again, not quite enough to be able to cut into the lead that Garcia had. Parker DeLong in fourth, and then Davis Cunningham out of Texas in the fifth position.
Yeah, and DeLong, P4, also your hard charger, David, started 27th and stormed his way back up to 4th.
Yeah, broken chain in the pre-final, put him back to 27th. So again, that was...
You've said that more than once.
It was a common theme.
Yeah, apparently. Wow. Okay, so things not done at all in the points. Max Garcia with a 24-point lead over Mateus Orjuela. And Cameron Brinkman not out of it yet either at 171 points coming into Sunday. Spencer Conrad out of the gate, David, though, qualifies on pole. And then again, you talked about guys kind of stepping up and getting things done. Garcia wins the pre-final. And yeah, the thing's still up for grabs going into the main event. But for Garcia to get that little bit more cushion, right, in the pre-final, just gave him probably a little more breathing room when it came to the main event.
Yeah, it certainly gave him breathing room. Not quite enough yet to call him the champion, obviously, because a catastrophic end to his race would have certainly gave the title to Mateus. So Garcia still had to go out and do the best he could in the race. This one ended up being a 3-driver fight early on with Garcia, Conrad, and Parker DeLong running nose to tail. Their shuffling allowed for 3 drivers to close in, including Cameron Brinkman, Cooper Shipman, and Mateus Orjuela. So those 3 were able to come in, make it a 6-driver fight in the final few laps. But Garcia, again, super strong in the final lap, was able to secure the lead again, taking it back from, I believe, was Conrad. Very similar to what happened on Saturday. Kind of, a duplicate of what we saw in the last lap yesterday or Saturday. And then Garcia was able to hold off a final charge at the line, winning the 4th main event of the year, 4th straight, that is, by 46 thousandths of a second at the line.
Always impressive to see a driver able to kind of take control and then really manage that lead. It's one thing I talk about all the time about kids coming up through the ranks, whether it's karting or cars. You want to see a driver get into a championship position and then be able to actually really manage that championship through to the end. So kudos to Max Garcia there. 90 points was the advantage in the championship over Mateus Orjuela. Brinkman, DeLong, and Shipman finishing 3rd, 4th, and 5th. David, one more little note here for the Mini Swift class, rather, the hard charger starting back in the 30th position, working all the way up to 9th, 21 position improvement for Ben Mayer. Yeah,
great drive by Ben. Ben was, a quick driver early on in the weekend, but didn't quite get the results he wanted to, but ended out the year with a great hard charge in Sunday's main event.
All right, let's cap off this race report brought to you by Atlanta Motorsports Park with Micro Swift, and the headline, Jaeger doubles on weekend. Out of the gate on Saturday, Carson Weinberg on the Nitro Kart qualifies on pole, but Cade Yeager, another Nitro Kart driver, David, wins the pre-final, start on the pole for the main event, to kind of set things up for his shot at taking a win.
Exactly. Weinberg and Jaeger were right there. Jack Iliff, championship leader and two-time winner, essentially were the lead group for the main event. Those three continue to go back and forth a little bit, especially on the final circuit. Jaeger was able to take the lead, and then as they came to the line, ended up being a photo finish with Weinberg drafting outside, trying to take the victory away, but ended up coming 30 thousandths of a second short at the line, giving Cade Jaeger his second victory of the year. Jack Iliff sitting right there in third, so a good points day for Jack. Obviously being right there behind Weinberg as they came into the weekend, 1-2 in the championship. Vivek Kanthan, another driver we continue to see throughout the year do well, finishing in fourth with Gianmatteo Russo in the Nitro Kart finishing fifth.
Yeah, Nitro Kart drivers having a pretty good run there on the opening day. Vivek Kanthan, David, as you said, hard charger, 23rd up to the fourth position. And in the points, heading to Sunday, Jack Iliff with the lead of 53 over Carson Weinberg. Vivek Kanthan back by 120. He, of course, still in the championship fight as well. But again, David, come Sunday, Cade Jaeger out of the gate again, qualifies on pole, but this time Isaac Malkit on the Kart Republic winning in the pre-final.
Yeah, a little bit of contact in the pre-final kind of shuffled things up a little bit, allowed Isaac Malkut to go away and score a commanding pre-final victory. Malkut was able to get away by himself in the main event, which was kind of shocking. You don't typically see that in the micro Swift division, but had a pretty good lead going on throughout much of the race until late in the going. The group of drivers second and back were able to kind of essentially run him down lap after lap until they got towards the end of the race. Iliff took the lead on the final circuit. He led going into the hairpin until he was hit from behind right at the apex by Asher Osteen, essentially sending both of those drivers sideways. So it's kind of almost like watching drifting where you see two karts sliding through a corner. It was pretty wild. The entire crowd along the fence was just oohing and eyeing over the contact. Essentially, that allowed Cade Jaeger to kind of slip through all that to take the lead, and then held on at the finish line by 80 thousandths of a second over Malkut for his third victory of the season.
Wow. Jack Iliff coming home in third, Max Christia in fourth on the Magic chassis, as you've got noted down here, David. And again, Carson Weinberg capping off the top five. Christia on the Magic, that's interesting. That's a new move. I think he was on the Parolin at the SCUSA Summer Nationals.
Yeah, it was his debut weekend with the Magic Kart. So got to work with AJ Myers and Andrew Budozo directly. So certainly made some great improvements for the young driver.
Nice. Hard charger. We mentioned that Carson Weinberg coming up to P5, but David started all the way back in the 9th position.
Yeah, was among one of those in the pre-final that was involved in contact. He actually hit Keelan Harvick, who was making his USPKS debut. Harvick was quick driver in happy hour on Friday, but didn't quite translate that into strong results on the weekend in both Saturday and Sunday. Did ended up finishing in the 6th spot on Saturday in the main event, and then I want to say just inside the top 10 of the main event on Sunday, just outside actually 14th on Saturday. But it was interesting to see because it was kind of an interesting hit, and it looked like Weinberg was disgusted with himself for hitting his teammate. Harvick. So, I mean, he was just, okay. You see the antics that some of these kids put on, and it was quite a show that Weinberg put on.
All right. Well, Jack Iliff ends up winning the championship. He has really done well for himself in this micro category. A number of championships on that resume. We look forward to seeing his move up into the mini categories. Carson Weinberg, 107 points back, second, the runner-up in the championship. Jaeger on the strength of 3 wins, as David had mentioned, 204 back. Asher Osteen and Vivek Kanthan rounding out the top 5. A DQ in round number 6 for Kanthan drops him down in 5th. Any interest or info on that, Dave?
There's a video on Facebook about it. Kanthan was actually a DNS, got contact during the pace lap. I'm not quite sure who he got into contact with, but he let that driver know who was number one a couple of times. And
okay, I saw that.
The unsportsmanlike conduct penalty required a disqualification for the race. Thus, kind of, again, if he had finished last place points, might have ended up in the fourth position, but dropped to fifth in the championship chase.
Okay, folks, final break in this edition of the Debrief. We'll come back. David will wrap things up. We'll have a look at the Constructors' Championship, and we'll give you really a look at 2021 as we have a little look at the EKN Trackside Live race calendar. Stay with us. We'll wrap things up after this break. In racing, experience is priceless. Franklin Motorsports is a leader in the karting industry with over 50 years of combined karting experience, and we can provide you with everything you need to go racing. With a large online product selection, select track support events, and a wide variety of shop services, Franklin Motorsports is your complete karting source. Check out our online store at franklinkart.com, where all our products are just a mouse click away. We ship daily to ensure that you get your order as quickly as possible, and we are constantly adding new products to our online store. We specialize in IAME engines, Tillet seats, ceramic product line, OTK products, Briggs & Stratton engines, and of course, our championship-winning Merlin chassis. In our online store, you'll find a variety of items to fit your karting needs. Franklin Motorsports is also known for our wide variety of services and is home to Innovative Engine Works by FMS, our in-house engine service department. Frame straightening, kart prep, and dyno testing are all services offered regularly at Franklin Motorsports. For all things karting, visit franklinkart.com. Feel like you're racing alongside the many legends that have called CRG home. With direct factory support, the CRG Nordam operation is the North American distributor for all CRG products related to karting and is based just outside Houston, Texas. The complete racing chassis line, including the famous Road Rebel shifter kart, is available through CRG Nordam. The growing FS4 Briggs & Stratton focused chassis is expanding worldwide, including right here in North America. Many tracks, indoor and outdoor, have made the switch to the Centurion rental kart line through CRG. New for the 2020 season is the Mini Hero for cadet racing, homologated for FIA competitions around the world. Head over to kartcrg.com or find them on all social media networks. Welcome back to episode 71 of the EKN Debrief, what will be the last debrief of the 2020 season. We'll talk more about that when we cap off the show. Rob Howden alongside David Cole. All right, DC, let's wrap things up here right now. Your final thoughts on the finale of the USPKS at GoPro.
Again, it's the largest event in the 8-year history of the USPKS, and to end the 8th year with record numbers in both the finale and the opening event of the year, in what is one of the strangest years our generation has ever experienced. Certainly is the highlight of the year. Hopefully we'll carry that momentum into what could be a good 2021 season, expanding the program to 4 races again for the first time since 2017. So that's going to be the question going into next year, if record numbers are going to continue, if we're going to continue to see an increase in field size for for what should be the same 7 categories we have for next year.
True enough.
And then again, Sunday evening at the end of the day, we had the championship prize ceremony. The USPKS requires the driver to be in attendance to receive prizes. We saw probably a handful of drivers not show up. So those drivers were unable to take home their prize or have an opportunity to select a prize. One of the prizes that were offered in senior X30 Pro, X30 Masters, X30 Junior, and Mini Swift were the IAME International Final tickets for 2021. The only 2 drivers to take the tickets were Alex Stanfield in X30 Junior and Max Garcia in the Mini Swift. Again, no driver took one in senior or masters. So those tickets will probably be wild cards for the 2021 season. We'll see what IAME USA East does with that. But again, IAME parts given out, new engines, new MG tires, a number of other prizes given out to all top 5 finishers in the championship, along with drivers able to select the 2021 USPCast Winner Circle program, which is, again, free entries and tires for the entire 2021 season.
Nice. All right, let's look at the Constructors' Championship, David. What do we got? 7 different manufacturers, 7 different brands winning on the weekend?
Yeah, 7 different brands winning in the 7 different categories over the 14 main events. So Tony Kart led the way, earning 5 victories. Will Power Kart with Max Garcia earning 2 in the Mini Swift category. Cade Yeager winning 2 races for Nitro Kart. Brandon Jarzakrak winning 2 races for the Cosmic brand. Parolin, Kart Republic, and Prix each won 1 victory.
All right, let's wrap this edition up here, folks. The EKN Trackside Live race calendar brought to you by Briggs & Stratton. Briggs & Stratton is powering Operation Grassroots around the world. No other engine manufacturer is getting new and returning drivers to the kart track like the Briggs 206. The out-of-the-box performance of the Briggs 206 provides the most fun, excitement, and reliability of any karting engine on the global market. Learn more about the 206 engine and the history behind Briggs & Stratton's century-long commitment to motorsports at www.briggsracing.com. Briggs & Stratton Racing, what powers you? All right, David, we're essentially moving our focus into the 2021 season. Of course, the EKN Trackside Live Tour brought to you by Cooper Tires is done now for the 2020 season. You capped things off. We didn't get to go to as many races as we wanted, but you and I know it's a long way away still, but you and I are already starting to eye things forward. 2 races in January, a couple races in February. We're going, our next one's January 8th, 9th, and 10th, the SuperKarts USA Winter Series at AMR Motorplex in Homestead, Florida. We'll be getting out of the cold and into the Florida sunshine.
Yeah, I hope it's warm down there. Something I haven't been able to experience in January or February is warm Florida weather. So we'll see if we'll change that this year. Looking forward to 2021. Obviously, the winter months are going to be busy. As you said, we're going to be at 2 events in January, opening it up with the opening Homestead race for SCUSA Winter Series. And then we'll head west out to our good friend Challenge of the Americas, January 22nd through the 24th, starting the season out at the Cal Speed Karting facility in Fontana, California. So let me see, I think it's the 14th seaseason
for Challenge, starting it off, of course. 142 entries was their record last year at Cal Speed. Remember, they essentially capped the season at Cal Speed last year because they weren't able to do the finale with the shutdown of the with the COVID pandemic. So they're going to start the season at Fontana, then we go to Phoenix, and then we'll cap things off at Sonoma at the end of March. So, yeah, we're looking forward to getting back out with Andy Saisman and the whole crew there at the Challenge back at Fontana. It'll be, you know what, David, it'll be your first In-N-Out Burger of 2021.
Oh, man, I just forgotten about that. Now I got to crave it.
Well, listen, you had Waffle House more than once down in
I did. I had it twice.
North Carolina.
I'm paying for it because my arteries are clogged.
Yeah, you feel a little sluggish today?
Well, more so yesterday than today, but yeah, certainly needed to get some walking in. But In-N-Out Burger. I was actually talking to Tim Pappas. He's excited because he has family in Colorado, Denver area, getting their first In-N-Out Burger.
Wow, that's fantastic. All right, so folks, to cap off this edition of the EKN Trackside Live race calendar, 2 races in January, 2 in February. We go SCUSA Winter Series round 1 and 2. We go Challenge of the Americas at Cal Speed on January the 22nd and 24th. A couple weeks later, SCUSA Winter Series round 3 and 4 at AMR Motorplex. I love going to Homestead. Love that racetrack, and it's always fun to watch. And then again, middle of February, we head to the Challenge again at Phoenix. In Phoenix,
at the end of February. Yep.
At the end of February, exactly. We'll stop it at that. We are getting set to go 2021. We're going to be at a lot of races next year. Looking forward to it. And I will take the opportunity to thank Cooper Tires for being with us again. I think it's their 3rd year that they've been with us as the presenting sponsor of our EKN Trackside Live Tour. So always a pleasure. I get a chance to work with the good folks at Cooper Tire on the road to Indy, and to be able to have them as part of what we do at eKarting News means a lot to me as well. But David, you capped things off. You were part of the USP cast throughout the entire season. You and Tim Coyne up in the PA booth, whatever it may be. What a fantastic end of the season! And again, the exclamation point, right? You cap off the season with record numbers all that momentum heading to 2021.
Yeah, thank you to Tim for providing the voice of the USPKS, and Ali Long for putting up with both of us as she is the lead scorekeeper. And thanks to Mark Coates and everybody at the USPKS program for again an 8th year, and we, aside from one race, we've been to every single one. So it's been fun. It's been a privilege, and it's great to see the growth and development that the program has had over the eight years that it's done.
Yeah, shout out to everyone involved in the USPKS for doing what they've done. They've developed an amazing program, which will expand to 4 races in 2021, the finale yet to be determined. Thank you so much, folks, for tuning in to this edition of the EKN Debrief. On behalf of David Cole, my name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.